If you have weak hip flexors, it can be linked to many issues: poor pelvic control, hip instability, lower back pain, the ability to be able to lift your legs properly, and even just general hip mobility. Before we get into strengthening the hips, try these 2 tests to see if your hip flexors are weak. For this test, you want a bench or a chair, and you want the height to hit you right at the knee. Make sure that you sit on the edge of the bench. Sit tall, shoulders back and down. Make sure that you don't lean back, and make sure that you're not leaning forward. You want to be perfectly straight. Cross your arms over your chest so that you're not using any momentum. Lift one knee and hold for 10 seconds. Then do the same thing on the opposite side. With this test, you're gonna be shifting the weight to one leg, and then you're gonna do the same thing with the other leg. First, shift the weight to this leg. Place your hand on the wall. No arching, no hunching, everything nice and straight, ribs stacked. You're gonna lift this leg up and hold it for about 10 seconds. Your goal is to make sure that you're not doing anything like wobbling, turning, everything nice and straight. You're just using this here just in case you lose balance. But your goal here should be to keep that leg up and to be able to hold that for 10 seconds. Then you're gonna do the same thing on the other side. If you can't lift your knee up like this without leaning back, you might have weak hip flexors. These 2 tests tell how strong your hip flexors are and whether or not your pelvis is controlling the movement or compensating. When your pelvis tilts forward, it can cause weak hip flexors. Grab a mat and line it up against a wall. For this exercise, grab a yoga block, a foam roller, a rolled up towel, or even a lacrosse ball or tennis ball. Lie down and place this in between your knees. Place your feet on the wall and make sure that your knees and also your hips are bent at that 90-degree angle. Now you're gonna press your heels into the wall and lift your tailbone slightly. I'm talking so slight that you can only basically slide a credit card or a sheet of paper underneath there. You're gonna breathe about 3 to 5 full breaths as you squeeze lightly with this yoga block here, digging those heels into the wall. And then you're gonna come down. You're gonna do 2 rounds of these. This first exercise resets your pelvis and gives your hip flexors the position that they need to finally work. This resets pelvic tilt. It inhibits that side lower back muscle, which is the most common muscle in the lower back that usually kicks in and overcompensates. It also repositions the psoas and gives your hip flexors a stable place to fire from. Standing, walking, climbing stairs, and even sitting suddenly feel smoother because your pelvis is more centered. This next move is going to strengthen the deep hip flexors without letting your back or your quads cheat. Grab an exercise band. Lie on your back and take a mini band and loop it around your feet. It's gonna be right across the arches. Your hips and your knees are gonna be bent at a 90-degree angle. Also make sure that your feet are in dorsiflexion, not pointing the toe. Make sure that your lower back is in contact with the floor. We're gonna work this side first. You're gonna keep this leg completely still. Make sure that you're not turning your torso in any way. Your hips are not moving. Now you're gonna take this leg and you're gonna use your hip flexor muscles and you're gonna bring it towards your chest as much as you can. You're gonna hold for about 2 to 3 seconds and then you're gonna come back. You're gonna alternate doing the other leg now. You're gonna do 2 to 3 sets per leg of 10 reps with that 2 to 3 second hold. This trains hip flexion from a neutral pelvis, restores psoas recruitment, and reduces TFL and quad dominance. It helps things like getting into your car, climbing the stairs, and also lifting one leg when you're doing things like putting on your pants. Lie on your back and bring both legs towards the ceiling. You don't need to lock your knees, you're just gonna have a slight bend. Now you're gonna press your ribs down, squeeze those abs, bring one leg down for 3 seconds. You're gonna bring it as far as you can before you feel that your back is going to start arching. Then you're gonna bring it up, and you're gonna alternate with the other side. Do 2 sets of 6 to 8 reps per leg. This exercise strengthens the muscles that are responsible for walking, running, controlling leg swing in these movements, preventing overuse of the lower back. In this next exercise, this is how your hip flexors control how you walk, when you lift your leg, and also how you use your core to keep yourself steady. For this exercise, grab a band. You wanna anchor the band low. Loop the band so that it sits on top of your ankle joint. Now you're gonna step away from the band so that you feel tension. Keep your back straight, your ribs stacked. You do wanna have a slight bend forward, but still keeping the back straight. Now you're gonna shift the weight over to the non-banded leg. You're gonna drive your knee up, keeping that 90-degree angle bend. Hold, and then come back down. Do 2 to 3 sets of 8 to 10 reps per side. This strengthens the hip flexors exactly the way they work in everyday real motion. It improves better walking mechanics, also stronger stair climbing and smoother running stride. What we're gonna do now is build hip flexor strength while forcing your body to stabilize and not rotate. For this one exercise, you wanna stand beside a wall. Now you're gonna place your hand on the wall and then make sure that it's roughly chest height. Make sure that your back is straight. Now bring the weight over to this leg. You're gonna be actively pressing into this wall and then lifting this leg up, keeping that 90-degree angle bend, holding for a couple seconds as you're pressing into the wall. You're gonna resist rotation here. So make sure that your torso is not turning, your hips remain square the entire time. You're gonna do 2 sets of 8 to 10 reps per side. It fixes that wobble that most people have on one leg. This movement trains anti-rotation control. It's essential for walking and more hip stability when you're walking and standing.